Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview Sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.
Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast. Today we have the great honor of having our only 3-time guest in history, John Lee Dumas. John is the founder and host of the award-winning podcast, Entrepreneur on Fire, with over 1 million monthly listens, 7 figures of annual revenue. He is spreading entrepreneurial fire on a global scale. We are here today to talk about his first traditionally published book, The Common Path to Uncommon Success, which is available for pre-order now at uncommonsuccessbook.com. JLD, thanks so much for joining us.
I mean, I'm fired up to be here right now. Whenever I get to hang out with yourself and, of course, Kevin Harrington, life is good, so consider life good.
Awesome. So let's dive right into the new book. Why write it, and how have people been lied to by the experts in the online business world? So there are some
fantastic experts in this world. Let's just get that straight. I mean, you're looking at a couple of them right now for sure, and they're doing amazing things in this world. But the reality is, and we've all experienced it, there are some people that want you to think that the path to success is hidden, or it's complicated, or it's secrets. Listen, the path that Kevin's been upon, the path that I've been on, the path that, by the way, over the 3,000 guests that I've now been able to interview on Entrepreneurs on Fire, it's a very common path to get to our version of uncommon success. And of course, we all have different versions of uncommon success. We all got there the exact same way. And I know that because I boiled down these 17 core principles from Kevin, from Tony Robbins, from Gary Vaynerchuk, Tim Ferriss, the other 3,000 plus people I've interviewed. And we all share the exact same foundational principles. And I created this 17-step roadmap that's going to get you there to financial freedom and fulfillment chronologically, step by step by step.
Yep. Where does mindset fit into your 17 steps? Is it getting the right mind?
Listen, if you don't have the right mind, don't even begin this journey. Don't even do it. And guess what? Not everybody's fit to be an entrepreneur. Everybody's not. And guess what? And Kevin, you'll probably be able to verify this as well. Number 37 at Facebook is doing pretty well financially right now. They found their thing. They found their zone of fire, and they're flipping crushing it as a result. They didn't have the mindset to be an entrepreneur. They had the mindset to be number 37, get in with the right company at the right time, follow marching orders, and do the thing. And guess what? I was an officer in the U.S. Army for 8 years. I know how to follow orders too. I was 13 months in Iraq as a tank commander in charge of 16 men and 4 tanks. Like, you better believe I knew how to take orders and I knew how to give orders. But believe me, that chain of command was in place. When I became an entrepreneur, I had no one to look to. It was me giving myself the marching orders. And some people can't handle that. So if you can't handle that kind of mindset and get your mindset on straight, surround yourself with the right people. And this is where I'm actually big, by the way, I'm not saying that you go at it alone. You hire the right mentor. And by the way, the right mentor is the person who's currently where you want to be in this world. That's the right mentor right there for you. I was wanting to be a successful business podcast host. I hired a successful business podcast host. That's the key for me. And did I join an accountability group? Of course, I joined a mastermind, and it was fantastic to be surrounded by the right people. Because as Kevin's experienced, and he does this so well, by the way, he knows that he's the average of the 5 people he spends the most time with. That's why he's always hanging out with ballers, because he's the average of those 5. And he's usually bringing up the average of those 5, by the way, because of who he is. But the reality is this, that's the truth. So mindset, Kevin, great question. Everything. Yeah.
I think it was fascinating how in the book you talked about, when you're talking about hiring a mentor, you said, hire someone who's a year or 2 ahead of you. Don't hire, if you're trying to make your first million, you don't hire Kevin Harrington because there's a huge gap between billions and your first million. You talked about hiring somebody a year or two ahead of you. Why did you specify it like that?
Well, let's be reasonable. You can't afford Kevin Harrington. You can't do it. And that's fine, because guess what? He is where he is after decades and decades of busting his butt in what I call his zone of fire. He had his big idea and he crushed it for a long time. He's continued to reinvent himself and do a lot of amazing things. You can't afford him. And frankly, you want somebody who's about a year ahead of you, maybe 2 years ahead of you, because number one, you can afford them because they're doing their thing, but they're not crushing it right now. They've just been where you are within a year, within 24 months. They can taste what it was like, and they know what it's like in the real world. Like, guess what? Starting a podcast back in 2012 is a lot different than it is in 2021. So number one, you can't afford me as a one-on-one coach because I don't do one-on-one coaching. You can't afford it anyways. There'd be a price tag, through the roof. But the reality is you don't want me because I didn't launch my podcast last year. Things have changed. I haven't been able to stay with the times. I'm just continuing to crush my podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire. I can tell you how to run a podcast that has over 100 million listens, that gets over 1.4 million listens per month. You have to find the right mentor for you.
Can you share?
I know you moved from California to Puerto Rico. I don't know if that was it strictly a tax situation?
100%, Kevin. I'm one of those people, by the way, and I might be in the minority, but I like to keep the money I make. And you know what? For multiple years in California, I was writing multi-seven-figure checks to Uncle Sam. And guess what? Fine and well, there's a lot of people still doing it. You guys can fund our governments. Right. I don't want to. I left, went to Puerto Rico, bought my home on the Caribbean. I live here in paradise. I pay a flat 4% tax. And I've been doing that for 5 years. The amount of wealth that you can accumulate and build by not paying anything more than 4% tax, A, is mind-blowing. B, I've been able to invest back into my business in amazing ways. C, I've written multi-six-figure checks to my favorite charities that I otherwise would not have been able to do. I mean, this is such a no-brainer for entrepreneurs. But don't do it unless you want to keep the money you make.
I know there's an entrepreneurial shift that's occurred down there. So
there's
probably a lot of great support groups and networks and all of that too.
Big time. Brendan Bouchard came down here. We got Ty Lopez and Grant Cardone here last weekend. I mean, it's crazy the people that are realizing what can happen when you keep the money you make. And by the way, that's just on like the earning side of things. It's a 0% capital gains for real estate, for crypto, for all your investments. 0% capital gains down here. It's literally, you can change your life overnight. But I gave myself a 47% raise the day I moved here. I bought a beautiful $2 million home that, by the way, would have been a $24 million home in La Jolla, California, where I came from, had it been the same home and the same view. Right. I got it for $2 million. And I saved more in taxes than 17 months in the house cost. I mean, it's a game changer.
Beautiful.
That is absolutely incredible. You talk about achievement. What do we really want to achieve, and why are the waters kind of muddled there?
Listen, this shouldn't be muddled because there's at the core of all of us, and I mean every single human being in this world, there's one thing we want. We want freedom. And by freedom, let me explain to you what that means. That means that every single day you get to do what you want to do, where you want to do it, with whom you want to do it with. When Kevin Harrington gets to get up and go play, 36 holes of golf, that's him living his dream. That's him being free to do what he wants to do. That's him living his best, uncommonly successful life. It's there for all of us if you can first at least identify it. But that's when you finally peel back those, sometimes it's 6 layers deep, like that old Toyota saying, 6 layers deep to get to the real core, but it's freedom. Because if you have freedom to do what you want, where you want, whom you want to do it with, you've won.
I had a transition from the Ask Seaman TV business into digital, into Facebook and Instagram product launches like this. How much of in your world do you focus when you're teaching and talking in the book about the digital side of your business and connecting with the social media engines and Facebook, Instagram, et cetera?
So I keep this very evergreen. Obviously, I talk about what's happening in the world today, but this book is truly timeless. Like, I created this book to be like a modern day version of Think and Grow Rich. Because what have I done, Kevin, over the past decade? I've interviewed 3,000 of the world's most successful entrepreneurs. Like, what did Napoleon Hill do back in his time? Like, he interviewed a couple hundred of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, which, by the way, was as impressive because he had to actually travel and go to them and talk to them. So, I mean, I'm not trying to say that my 3,000 outweigh his couple hundred. They don't. But what I'm creating is the modern day Napoleon Hill version of Think and Grow Rich, because this book The Common Path to Uncommon Success. It is 17 foundational core principles that you could literally put on J.D. Rockefeller. You could put on Albert Einstein. You could put on Thomas Edison. You could put on Vanderbilt. You could put on J.P. Morgan. You fill in the blank. It doesn't matter. These are 17 core foundational principles that were true 100 years ago, and they will be true 100 years from today. And so these are the 17 steps to get to your version of financial freedom and fulfillment. Of course, in 2021, it means being on digital. It means being on social media. It means experimenting with Clubhouse and podcasting and other forms of media like that. But this is a foundational principle book, The Modern Day Napoleon Hill.
We know your time is incredibly limited today. We greatly appreciate you spending some time with us. Can you share with us the details of the upcoming book launch for The Common Path to Uncommon Success?
Well, listen, man, I can't believe that I'm being limited to hang out with Kevin Harrington because, again, my average right now is being increased like 100-fold getting to hang out with this guy. I mean, the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with is so unbelievably true. And guess what? I've been honored to be able to spend some time with Kevin, both in person and then on my podcast and, of course, on his show as well. And I've learned from him. I've learned from the over 3,000 successful entrepreneurs that I've been able to interview over the past decade. The thousands and thousands of hours of interviews that I've done, I've been able to literally compress down into these core 17 foundational principles. I keep saying 17 because, listen, I tried to make it 18 to make it an even number. I tried to get it down to 16 to make it less. It's just what it is. It's 17 foundational principles in a chronological step-by-step process that you can follow as a roadmap to get to your version of financial freedom and fulfillment. And I'm talking guaranteed. And if you can't make this happen after 3 months, 6 months of applying these principles, we're going to go back to what I said to Kevin at the beginning of this episode. Hey, this might just not be for you. And that's okay, because there's something that's out there that is for you. And if it's not this path, this road of entrepreneurship, of whatever it is you want to look at as being a businessman, a businesswoman, there's things out there that you can absolutely thrive in. Maybe it's being a number 2, a number 10, a number 37 somewhere. But if you want to test that and see if you have what it takes to become uncommonly successful, like Kevin Harrington, like Gary Vaynerchuk, like Tony Robbins, like the 3,000 other successful entrepreneurs I've interviewed over a decade, this book has a roadmap for you. uncommonsuccessbook.com. You'll see my personal endorsements from Gary Vaynerchuk, Seth Godin, Neil Patel, Erica Mandy, Dory Clark, ballers. You'll see the bonuses that I have that are insane. I have insane bonuses. Like I'm literally shipping all 3 of my journals to the door of every single pre-order. I have other things going on there that you will just have to see for yourself. uncommonsuccessbook.com. Kevin, what are you smiling at, buddy? You make me smile.
I'm smiling because I'm wondering, did you do this book yourself or did you go through a publisher?
So awesome question. Number 1, I went through a publisher, HarperCollins Leadership. I've self-published 3 of my own books. I loved doing it. I crushed it all 3 times I self-published. This was outside of my comfort zone, going with a traditional publisher. I got a multi 6-figure advance. So, I mean, the pressure was on. Like, I knew that I had to deliver, and I liked that kind of pressure. They, came at me with a professional editor, the publishing team in general, the launch team. Like, it was been like real deal Holyfield stuff. And, we're going big on this. So I went the traditional publishing route. I considered, full transparency, going the ghostwriting route. I think that's a great route if you need to do it, if you just don't have the time. I interviewed a few people. At the end of the day, I just couldn't pull the trigger because I knew, at least for this book, my first book, I had to write it. And I wrote every one of these 71,000 words, Kevin, 273 pages of pure value.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know I'm buying a bunch of books, so
yes,
I'm going to be giving them to friends and relatives, neighbors, everybody. Everyone needs to read this.
You'll be giving them the gift of financial freedom and fulfillment, Kevin. You're going to have people that can play golf with you more now because they're going to be able to have the time to do it.
All right. This has been Seth Greene and Kevin Harrington for Sharkpreneur with John Lee Dumas. uncommonsuccessbook.com. Go pre-order now. JLD, thanks so much again for coming back for the 3rd time.
So many thanks.
Good seeing you, buddy. Good luck.
Adios.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level, but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.